So whatever is appearing right now, sounds, images, exactly what's happening right now, nowhere else, just this, breathing. Whatever's happening right now is all happening spontaneously. There's nobody doing it. And that's the great illusion, that I'm the doer, that life needs my help. Could perfection possibly look exactly like this moment? Exactly as you're experiencing this moment is absolutely perfect. And what do all appearances have in common? Doesn't matter what it is, a feeling, a thought, a memory, agitation, discomfort, annoyance, appreciation, joy.
They're not permanent.
Yes, they all come and go. So if we look for our happiness in a form, in an experience, trying to get something, we notice that it's always empty. At the end of the day, it never quite delivers. And then back on the hamster wheel we go, seeking, seeking, seeking. Never suspecting that it's always been right here. Simply is this. Simply is exactly is whatever's appearing. And instead, the me has its own ideas of perfection. And that's what it's on the hunt for. Because it already knows something. The me knows this isn't it. Well, let's investigate. Let's see if we've ever experienced anything other than what's here now. What if what we were looking for was equally present in all appearances? So the sadness as well as the joy, the fear as well as the excitement, the confusion as well as the clarity.
That would take some getting used to extend it into some of the areas you're talking about. Like I've gotten used to like looking at my surroundings, which I had always thought were flawed and there needed to be something different. But now I see them like a painting, just astonishingly beautiful. But to look at like being upset in that same way, that's an interest. Maybe I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about, but that's an interesting.
Yeah.
Idea.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it, Thomas. So the analogy is when you're looking at a painting and you're 6 feet away and you can perfectly see the painting as a painting. So I posted a picture of like a bridge and people walking, and from 6 feet away it looks like a normal picture, but if you get closer you notice there's daubs of paint on the canvas, and you get closer and you get closer, and if you get 1 inch from the painting, suddenly that whole scene is gone and all you're seeing is blobs of paint on canvas. So our experience from a certain perspective looks and feels a certain way, but the little secret is you have to go into it. You can't stay. It's like Dan and I used to talk about, for the magician to fool you, you have to be at the perfect example. Now, funny enough, I used to be a professional magician, and I needed my audience to be, depending on the trick, either directly in front of me and not on the side of me, or they could be on the side of me, but they couldn't be above me. But it was really important that where they were looking from, the perspective was correct to pull the illusion off. Well, it's the same thing with our troubling stories. If you just sit there at the same old, listening to it from the same perspective, but yes, it's going to grind you down. But what if we go into it? So we could do this right now. If somebody has something they would like to share, it's much more effective and powerful if we take a real example instead of a hypothetical. So if anybody wants to unmute and you can share a troubling story, we could take a look.
Okay, here goes. So I have a friend, and I made a friend, which I'm doing less of lately. And kind of rushed into some things together. And as I came to know this person better, it became apparent that some of this planning that we were doing wasn't going to work out really well for me. And then the person started to reveal to me like some of the troubles that they had in their life, which were truly, they would really catch your attention by how extreme those stories sounded in terms of what had happened in their past and what had happened, what was happening to them currently. And they began changing their life pretty rapidly. In response to knowing me, they were excited about knowing me, and were like, okay, now I'm changing my life over here because, and then I had to be like, whoa, maybe you shouldn't change your life so much. I'm a little bit hesitant to get involved with this with you. And then there was some kind of, I don't know what you call those. There was some discussion that became, I don't know what you call it. Words were leveled. Maybe there were some labels that were leveled toward me. that were pretty uncomfortable. And I experienced a tremendous amount of anxiety, like feeling this anxiety. So that's why what you're saying is of so much interest to me. So I experienced this anxiety, like, wow, like, have I put this person, actually put this person out? Like my dabblings in, especially this recent dabblings in, there's no one having these experiences, is tremendously useful. But still, I think you can surprise pretty much anybody, even Jesus and the boys, if you go extreme enough. And I'm not Jesus and the boys. So, or, and the girls and who, thems and all, anyone else. So I did experience a lot of anxiety, like, wow, I put this person in a bad position, and they're letting me know that perhaps that I put them in a bad position, and also that they're alone and hurt and really want to continue. And I'm feeling like I want to, so there's all the background you probably need, right?
Yeah. Okay, so what we can say, Tom, is from one perspective, yeah, one perspective, everything you said, let's agree with. Okay? That's your experience. That's exactly how it is for you from one perspective. Yes?
Yes.
So that's a perspective. But let's bring back and consider maybe another perspective that's always here right now. Right here without that story, that beautiful story that you just shared. In this moment, can you find that story?
Absolutely not. No. Were you able to hear me say no?
Yes,
Oh, sorry.
was just enjoying your now.
Oh, sorry. Thought I might have been muted. I even like experienced like some anxiety telling you like that story. Like, of course, that anxiety is also like, no one is experiencing that anxiety. Like, there's anxiety, but no one is experiencing it.
Yeah, that's what's so beautiful about this sharing is it doesn't deny or discount your experience, but it's not the whole story. No pun intended, the whole story, right? Because a single perspective isn't the whole, is it? Right? My perspective or your perspective is not the whole perspective.
Absolutely.
It's a single story of one of countless, right? Billions, trillions, there's no number for the amount of different perspectives that's possible.
Yeah, it's like the blind man touching the elephant, and one feels a snake with the tail, and the other one feels, I don't remember what, with the trees and walls and fans. Yeah, you can't, there's no way that we can even know, we can really understand what is at play.
Exactly. So, but on the one hand, there's your story, and it is what it is. It is as you shared it, no problem. But it's not the whole story. And the whole story contains all perspectives. And all perspective isn't that single perspective. So whenever we're locked into a story and we get lost and we suffer, it's because we're locked into a single perspective.
Yeah, well, death helps a lot too, because you can really, if you live with, like, I go to this, I went to the cemetery recently and laid down and picked selfies of myself with a gravestone above my head. Like, I'm really really into my own death, and just embracing that and understanding everything with respect to my own certain death. It's, it's very delightful.
Well, can we go into that? Do you mind doing a little more work, Thomas?
Go ahead. Yes, I'm happy to.
So that's another story, right? That's another perspective that I'm going to die. right? I was born and I'm going to die.
Well,
That's
there was a, it seems to be that there's an appearance of death that I've personally experienced. I've seen people die.
right.
So there's death. Now, no one is dying, no one is born. But uh, there's also this kind of intangible self there, like this dream character. Uh, like this, it's almost like there's a convergence. Okay, so let's say that I say that, quote, I feel anxious. And then let's say that I start studying non-duality and my own death and etc. And then the appearance of what is happening changes so that there's not so much anxiety and stuff. Now, did I do anything? No, no one did anything. But it's almost like there's a convergence that has the appearance of a spiritual path and growth. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with putting my foot into the next obvious step. That's the only thing I ever say that I do, is like, there's an obvious next place to put my foot. I shove my foot right into that spot. That's the only doing I ever do. And there's sort of a, as I let go, there's sort of almost like a convergence that has an appearance of achievement and doing and a spiritual growth and a spiritual path, which is, of course, there's no one to become more spiritually advanced or to become calmer and less anxious. But I am enjoying that appearance.
Yeah, we need to go into death. It's the big bugaboo in the room, because as long as I still fear death, it's going to taint everything that I do. I'm always going to be looking over my shoulder. But
I love my death.
what if that wasn't true? What if it turns out you were actually never born?
Well, of course, no one, well, I don't know about of course, but I think that it would not seem odd for someone on in this meeting to say there's no one to be born. I love the fact of my own death. It's like the most liberating thing there could possibly be.
But there is no death for you. The body, death is for something that is in time, something that is a duration, something that is limited. So if it has a birthday, it will have an expiration date. Things in form only last a certain amount of time, whether it's a car or a person or a mountain or anything, a rainstorm, everything has a span, a lifespan, a duration, except for this. What is ever present doesn't come and go.
Yeah, well, when I say I am, I really mean something more akin to she is or he is. Like when I sort of will sometimes chant I am, but when I say that, it's I is almost like I'm referring to uh, another. So when I say I am, it's more like it is. So as far as death is concerned, there's that's more like the whole convergence thing. Like there's you can upset anybody's apple cart. Like if you take somebody and put them under an extreme enough circumstances, like they're gonna experience they could experience tremendous suffering and or have the appearance of that.
Right.
And while there may be nothing wrong with that, I enjoy it. I enjoy the appearance of that diminishing.
But let me ask you a question. Can Santa Claus die?
No,
Why not?
it doesn't exist.
That's right. So can the idea of Thomas that you have of yourself,
Yes.
just like Santa Claus is an idea, or like Nkosi teases Alice with the raccoon. Imagine a raccoon. Imagine a raccoon dying, and we could be very sad about it. Right, Alice? Or we could just say, well, wait, if it's imagined, how could it die?
I think that, so for me, what you're saying, like, that's nice to meditate on, but I was at the Y today and I walked up the stairs after swimming and my heart was beating really fast and like I couldn't catch my breath. And you know, I was pretty chill with it. I was like, wow. And like, I'm using the word I a lot. I've said I'm pretty meticulous about not using I. Jumping through every hoop in the world to stay away from the personal pronoun I. But there's this appearance of a self that is suffering, and that appearance has had a high frequency, and that appearance more recently or seems to have low frequency. So I don't know. I feel like a kid who got his favorite toy for Christmas and I'm trying to be talked out of it. It's working pretty well for me.
Does anyone else would like to share? Feel free to unmute and jump in. This is an open meeting. Everyone's invited to participate. And by the way, Shirley, welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I've been working or spending time with Nkosi for some time now, and I don't think there's a session that's gone by where he said this is not a journey. So I think maybe we're talking about that. It's not a journey.
Nice. Beautiful. Alice, that's so lovely. Yeah, it's always here if we care to look. But usually we're so preoccupied with our stories and fixing them that we just miss what's here, the simplicity right here, just the sound of my voice, you sitting in the chair listening or wherever you are. It's so simple when you just take it down to what's going on right now. But as soon as we go to mind, we get lost in our stories. And now we're in past. We're living out of memory and it doesn't feel so good.
Hmm.
So there's nobody here to experience time. Also, there's nobody here to experience this other thing that we're speaking about. So if there's nobody here, then there's no experience. And this is where then I go crazy.
Yeah, it's really, I get it, that you're already perfect just the way you are.
But not me. So if I say you are already perfect just the way you are, but there's no you here. So I am not perfect just the way I am, because there's no me.
And that's perfection.
To no one, right?
Yeah, there's,
Nobody's there to experience that perfection.
and yeah, exactly. And yet experiencing dawn seems to happen. That's what I'm saying. It's so beautiful because on the one hand, we have our stories of experiencing. So you could say, well, yeah, yesterday, I ate a hot dog or something, and that's a story. And you experienced a hot dog. So that's a perspective. That's a single perspective. But I'm trying to emphasize on tonight's call that it's limited. Your perspective is limited. Wholeness, this moment, life is unlimited. It is all perspectives and no perspective.
But nobody's having that perspective. There's nobody having that perspective. So that perspective that you're speaking of is, what is that? Or where does it come from?
That's the mystery.
Okay.
And Don, there's never been anybody. It's not like there's someone there and they go to meditation or they go to spirituality and that me slowly dissolves. No, it turns out, it just happens to be the case. It just turns out that there never was a me. And I know that's a hard pill to swallow because we're so convinced that no, there is a me. I have memories. I was born in this hospital and I had, this is my family. We have all this story to kind of prop up, our belief in this me. But look right now, in this moment, can you find a me?
No, you can't, but you need, I think you're kind of, I think, doesn't it kind of like shortchange the infiniteness to not let it have a little bit of duality? Like there's, like we're all here like with different haircuts.
Yeah, isn't it wonderful? Look at the
Yeah.
diversity. Look at the expression, Thomas. It expresses in every imaginable way, with hair, without hair, with gray hair, with beautiful brown hair. Yeah, all kinds of hair. Yeah.
So like, it's okay to be on the stage, to let the oneness be on the stage as all of this apparent division. And so, so it seems like, aren't we kind of like being buzzkills? Like, hey man, don't be dual. Like we see you, you're just one. Can't fool us. All right, everybody go home.
Well, it's the opposite here. To me, the buzzkill was trying to be a personal me when no such personal me existed. That's the buzzkill.
But don't we do some of that? Like, I went swimming today.
Yes.
Like my son came home today and I probably told him I went swimming today just because we're like hanging out. So like, I don't like transcend.
No.
Like, I'm just saying, hey, I went swimming. Like, oh, I hurt my arm. Or like, wow, I'm really getting buff or something. Like that, I'm on the stage and I'm enjoying that position on the stage. And what do you think about the statement that one day there will be the appearance of the death of this body?
Okay.
So what do you think about that statement? Like in whatever context you want to say, maybe in the context of the stage or the dream or whatever, and then maybe in the context, I don't know if you're able to talk about it from both ways, like when you're like if you're talking to people that that are not in this meeting, that are your family.
Well, that's the beauty of this message, is it doesn't discount your feelings. So again, we go back to the two perspectives. From from telling a story, you could be very grief-stricken and saddened by the passing of a loved one, of course. Of course. So there's no denial here. It's just pointing out that you're not doing any of it. You're not in any of it, because all of it, the entire thing is wholeness, is already the case, Thomas, before you or I are even speaking. That wholeness is already here right now. It's here silently, just being.
Do you never contemplate your own death? Because I constantly love to contemplate my own death.
Well, I remember having a lot of fear around death.
Well, that's not my, I use death like a wrench or a screwdriver, which I love tools. Like I use it to finagle my way out of suffering. And someone might say, hey, you know, this is the now, don't worry about your suffering. Just, it's an appearance, but okay, there's the appearance of me using my certain death as like a conduit to transcend suffering. I use it constantly, and it's a really beautiful tool
Okay.
for me.
Listen, if that works for you, great. No problem. Enjoy.
Do you mean that?
Yeah, I'm not selling anything here, Thomas.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding with that last comment.
I'm not here to convince you.
Absolutely no. I appreciate you indulging me there.
I'm saying the freedom that we're so desperately searching for turns out to already be the case. It just so happens that we already are the freedom. We just don't know it because we have these limited thoughts and we identify with them, and then voila, we feel limited. But the whole thing's an illusion.
Yeah, well, it has been very, I don't know what the right word is. You got to be careful with words once you get into this kind of a crowd. But it's very transcendent or liberating or freeing, like to hear some of the messages, like to really,
Thomas, words don't mean anything to us.
no.
This
Yeah.
kind of crowd, words don't mean anything to this kind of crowd.
Well, then let's stop talking.
No, we can talk, but they just don't mean anything. Talk all you want.
Yeah, because that's latent. That's good. Because what word can contain this? What word can contain life, contain everything? There's so
Words-
much going on. I'm sorry, go ahead, Peter.
Well, words cannot grasp it. It's beyond words.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say, I totally got though what Thomas apparently was referring to with being careful in this crowd. It's, you know, like I used to really observe the use of the personal pronouns. I'm very, very aware of it because I had a friend who kept calling me on it every time I used I. And when I sent him an email, he would send back an email and he would put in red all the I's. And I started to really, really pay attention to it. So that's maybe where I don't know, Thomas, maybe that's where you were coming from, that depending on how you speak, there may be judgment that you are not really as non-dual as you'd like to be.
Well, I know that when I write business letters a lot, and I'm always scrupulously hunting for I, and I do it because I enjoy it. I'm like, wow, this is really cool to like have this sort of as almost like a practice. And yes, I know there's nobody experiencing this practice. And these words don't mean anything, but I'm saying them more so they're being said rather. So I don't ever feel judged though. But yeah, thanks for chiming in on that.
It was an attempt for empathy, but you know, I just shared what came up.
Yeah, in this group, please feel free to use I as much as you damn well please. There's no non-duality police here. The use of the word I, remember, there's already not anyone there. So you can say I, it's not going to make the I appear if you say I'm hungry. That doesn't make the I appear. And if you say, oh, there's no I here, but I better be careful, hunger is arising here. That's so ridiculous. Just say what you feel. There isn't, it's just like saying, well, I better not say Santa Claus because people will think it exists if
Oh,
I
well,
say the word.
let me ask it again, because when I asked you, like, what do you think of the statement, like, someday I'm gonna die? Like Leighton said, hey, words don't, like when I said that, Leighton said words don't have any meaning, which is fine. But what do you think of it anyway?
I would say that, you are not your body. You're not your body. Your body takes care of itself. It monitors its own heart rate. It heals itself. You don't have anything to do. The you has nothing to do with your body. That way you don't see death.
I think we agree on that. I think that we're right. We're like on completely the same wavelength on that, but the question still stands, and maybe it's ridiculous to say that.
No, from one perspective, Thomas, from the so-called human perspective, it's completely normal to be obsessed with death. It's the elephant in the room. Everybody's distracting themselves all the time because if I'm quiet and I'm just sitting here, I might start thinking about my mortality, and that's unacceptable.
It's a very cool subject. Like there's nothing negative about it.
Well, here, not me, but here, there is concern. I'm definitely concerned because the story, I think it's all stories. When we start talking about death, we're making a story about what it might be, because I have no clue what physical death would be like. And I'm concerned that it would be painful because I've seen a lot of people suffer when they die. And I'm concerned. In fact, I'm thinking about how can I prevent that from happening?
I was laying in bed a couple of years ago and it felt like a piece of iron rod was being driven through my ear for about 2 months in a row. I had what Justin Bieber recently had, Ramsay Hunt syndrome, and it destroyed the cranial nerves on the left side of my head, paralyzed the left side of my face. And like, I just was like laying in bed praying, I was just chanting, like other than the few minutes of sleep I got every night, I was just chanting, like, just take it away. And at one point I just let go of, I realized that the thing that was bringing so much suffering was my desire for it to go away. And so I just completely dropped my desire for the pain to go away. I realized that every bit of suffering I was going through and all that pain was completely about that desire for it not to be there. And once I dropped it, the pain was just pain. So I think death's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's called not owning your pain. Not owning it.
Perhaps also not resisting it.
Death is way underrated. It's the coolest thing. Like yeah, I know that nobody's making decisions, but when I do when there's the appearance of decisions being made, often death comes in there and I just go for it because, hey, you're going to die anyway. Just go.
Well, death will be troubling to the degree you identify with the body.
I'm getting here as I listen to this wonderful conversation that everything is included. And like, if you're scared of death, that's included. If you're not scared of death, that's included. Whatever feeling you got about death, that's included. whatever I think about this conversation or my own internal conversation about this conversation, that's included. Or your internal conversation about this conversation, or your internal conversation right now listening to me, included. Not good, not bad, not right, not wrong, just included. And then spanning that out, everything is included. Everything. So like Nkosi would say, I guess everything is beautiful. I'm quoting him there, you know. It's like, I mean, my vision, a life of including all, you know, the life of total inclusion, or including me as this separate me with my separate problems and that kind of stuff, including that. Like the concept, oh, I'm getting excited. Like everything included. Like there's nothing that we could say. There's nothing that we could say that is not included. Nothing. Zero.
Yes.
Yeah. Whew.
Well put, well
Nice.
put.
That comes back down to what Nkosi says, everything is this, and I really appreciated your comments, Don.
It would even include the question why it is and how it is and where it came from and where it goes, and all included.
No, you didn't know it, but you were pinch hitting for Nkosi tonight, obviously.
Exactly.
Or actually not pinch hitting because there's no one there to pinch. No, here we go.
My favorite Nkosi, when I first met him, my favorite quote of his was, "All is this, even what seems to not be this." So no, death can't be this. You know, me not being able to pay the electric bill, that can't be this. Surely it's the love, light, and bliss that's this, but not any of the yucky stuff.
I think what you said about just that tiny part of the story was really cool. Like after I kind of laid out like this story about anxiety, and you just talked about how that, like, there's so much more.
Yeah. Yeah, Thomas, it's really true, because when we're locked into our stories, right? Like just check out your right now where you're sitting. Like look at the room. Look how much stuff is going on. The lights, the colors, the temperature, you sitting on the chair, my voice, other people talking, sharing, the Zoom meeting. So much is going on in the moment that's missed when we're lost in story, in concepts.
And the story can't capture anything really.
Right. Yeah, remember, it's the menu's not the meal.
Right.
Alice, did Nkosi tell you he wasn't coming tonight?
No, he hasn't, or I would have told you by now.
Okay, well,
But no, thanks for asking. He didn't
yeah,
say anything. All right.
okay. Well, we have Dawn, so we're okay. Shirley, do you still have your question? I was hoping Nkosi would be here because I know you wanted to ask him, but if you want, you can give it a shot. It's up to you.
Yeah, I did end up talking to Nkosi, and yeah, and he did answer my question, and it seems to be, yeah, it's answered, and I'm happy with that answer. Yeah, yeah. So I had asked you if what I had experienced was that I felt like there was like out of the nothing, just focusing my attention on the seer and the seeing is one in the same, which is what Nkosi was saying one day to Alice, or something along the lines of that. And I really started to repeat that again and again and try to focus on what that meant. And I ended up noticing that there was a lot of like I was the space. There was space, so much space. And I had never noticed that in the seeing. And then I ended up realizing that the seer and the one seeing is one in the same. There is absolutely no separation between me, yeah, me. There's no me, but there's no difference. There's no separation between the seer and the seeing. So there's just seeing. And for the first time, I recognized that emptiness, and I thought, oh my gosh, there's space, there's emptiness between my ears. There's nothing. So I can blend in into the air, into the space. I am the space, and that recognition stayed with me. And I wanted to ask Nkosi, so then I reached you, and thank goodness I was really happy that I made contact with you, and here I am. And yeah, I did speak to him yesterday, and he confirmed that, yeah, that's what that is, that emptiness, that space where no thought can enter. As soon as a thought enters, it taints that seeing, so in that moment I was able to understand what you guys mean by there's no past and no future, because that can only come in a thought. And even though I knew that before, I was able to verify that in that moment when the attention is focused, that the only way the past and the future can ever exist is in a thought. So many things came into my mind just out of that recognition. And yeah, I'm glad that it's there now. I could focus my attention. I mean, if the I thought does come back, well, that's another thing that I did share with Nkosi. When I focus my attention on the seer and the seeing, there is no me. There cannot be, because that would only be a thought, and that was recognized.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So yeah. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is so beautiful. The seeing is not a person. There's nobody back here that's generating the seeing.
Mm-hmm.
This seeing is just happening spontaneously.
Yeah.
Same with the hearing. Hearing is just happening. Nobody's doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the emptiness, you're right, Shirley, the emptiness
Yeah.
is the key, because
Yeah.
it's just empty.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, yeah, space. Kind of had the kind of like a little visual of everyone running around with space between the ears. That's the only way that I could ever like in that moment, or when I focus the attention, right? Because the I thought does come in and out. It's not, I cannot say that it is permanent, that the I thought comes in when I'm busy or whatever, but when the attention is focused, yeah, it's empty space. I can recognize what you mean when you guys say that there's nobody there, that everyone is empty. I understand that. Oh, it is recognized. It was recognized.
Yeah. Yeah, the empty space is what everything appears in, but
Yeah,
it doesn't go, yeah, it doesn't get noticed because my attention is on the appearance, on the
right.
thing, on the
Mhm.
thought, on the
Exactly.
story, on my
Yeah.
suffering. And
Yes.
I miss the ever-present, clear, open space that's never
Yeah.
touched by any of the thoughts.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's very clear when there's no thoughts.
Anybody else have any last comments or questions before we close out this evening?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick observation on something Shirley said I found really fascinating, and I really loved your explanation. It was really cool.
Oh,
Sort of the
thank
idea
you.
of removing the subject and object. You said something that was very interesting. You said that when you're in that empty space, how great everything is until unless a thought comes in and taints
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
And I would just throw this out there that if a thought does come in and there's no one there to hear it, it doesn't taint it, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
wanted to kind of share,
Yeah.
because when you really are in that empty space, thoughts may or may not be going on, and it doesn't matter, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway, hopefully that gives you some other way of looking at that idea of the thought tainting, as opposed
Yeah.
to the thought just is.
Yeah.
Don might add included.
That was a super cool statement. If there's a thought, what if there's a thought and there's no one there to hear it? That's really interesting. And it's a play on the tree in the woods too.
Beautiful.
The way I like to look at it is that they're not my thoughts, so I don't own them. So when they come up, they're gone. They don't even come up. They're already gone.
Beautiful.
I really appreciate the sharing, Shirley.
Oh, thank you, Alice. And I appreciate you, believe it or not. I heard you so many times within Cozy. You've helped me so much with all your questions. I really wanted to tell you that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Beautiful, guys. Thank you to each and every one of you for coming. We so appreciate and love all of you. Have a great
you,
evening,
Mike.
everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Michael.
Bye,
Thank
You
you.
everyone.
guys have a great
Bye.
night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.